There's nothing more special than receiving a beautiful handmade card at Christmas, and in this series I'm going to show you 5 Christmas cards that you can make really quickly that look absolutely beautiful. In this episode we're going to use one of our creator card dies to make a beautiful Christmas tree card, and this is the very definition of minimum effort and maximum results. Right, so the things you're going to need to start are a 5 1/4 inch card base. This is 5 1/4 inches long and 5 1/4 inches tall, wide and tall, and it's half fold, which you can see there. This can be made from a regular sheet of A4 card, folded in half and then trimmed to size. We've all got A4 card rattling around in our drawers. I've then got from our Candlelight Christmas collection this beautiful deep red piece of linen cardstock. You'll be able to see that on our website, and that has now been cut to 5 inches by 5 inches square. And then I've got a piece of this fabulous mirror card which has also been cut to 5 inches by 5 inches square, and that's all you need to get you started. So easy. So the first thing you're going to do is get your creator card out of the packet, and this one is from our A Christmas Dream collection. And if you haven't seen a creator card and how they work before, what you've got is an outside frame if you need to cut a panel. We're not going to use that because we're cutting into the front of the card base. And then you've got a metal die with this raised edge, which when you put it through a cutting machine like your Gemini Midi, you're going to get that beautiful cut detail, which is almost like a faux laser cut finish. And this is all done in 1 or 2 passes. It could not be easier. And if you've got a lot of Christmas cards to make, let's say you need to make 20 this week, this is the best way to do it, where they look like you've spent 3 hours, not 10 minutes. So we're going to take the piece of metal die that we've got, and we're going to take our card, open your card out flat, and then take the metal die, and all of that cut detail then goes facing down into your card, into the centre. And you can see this metal die is around 5 inches by 5 inches square. We are going to keep it still by using a little piece of our repositionable tape. Okay, so we're going to take a little piece and then just choose where you would like to keep it still. And I'm just going to keep it still at the top here. Okay, so now that's not going to move anywhere. It's going to be nice and square. We're then going to take the cutting folder from the Gemini Midi, open it up and pop this into the cutting folder. Just make sure everything is where you would like it to be. Close the cutting folder over the top, and then you can bring your machine in. Bring in your Gemini Midi, take the cutting folder, and then we're just going to run it straight through the machine very, very easily. So you offer it forward and then turn the handle. Sometimes good to just put your hand on top of the machine while you do that. You don't need to keep a hold of the folder. Run it through. Now before we decide if we need to run this through again, we can turn it over and just have a look and see that cut detail. And what you're looking for here is anything that looks like it might not have fully cut, and I can see a little tiny bit there and a tiny bit there. Not very much at all, everything else looks beautifully cut, but to save myself the upset of trying to take that die off and it hasn't quite worked, what you can do is fold it over again and then run it back through. When you're using a very, very detailed die like this, sometimes you do need to run it through the Gemini Midi twice, and that is just purely for all of the beautiful detail that you've got in there. So once you've done that, we know that's ready now. You can move the Midi to one side, turn our folder over and get ready to do the reveal. So that's going to be removing this tape, which was just keeping everything nice and still. So that's been removed. And then I can pick up my die from the card, and I can see some of the paper has remained there, and then all of the rest of that detail can be wiped away. And what you've got in the front of your card, and let me just bring this in so you can really see it, is a beautiful faux laser cut finish to that tree, which is absolutely stunning. And you see that took me possibly 5 seconds to run that through the machine. That's how quick it is for you to get such an incredible result for your Christmas makes. So I'm going to do that again. Now what I have got here, guys, is just the little stars are cut out, but they're hanging onto the card. So if you have got any little areas, use a pokey tool to just poke those through. If you don't have a pokey tool, use a paper clip or a hair clip. That'll do the same job. I'm going to tap out the waste card. Gentle taps on the back will remove that. You can also use your pokey tool or your paper clip if you want to go and remove any of those little pieces through the holes at the back. We're going to repeat that with this beautiful piece of gold cardstock as well. So exactly as we did before, we've got the folder open, the piece of cardstock we're going to use inside, the die, cutting edge down. And when it says cutting edge, look, I'm putting my hand up. Don't be scared of them. This is not sharp. It's the pressure against the raised edge of the machine that does the beautiful faux laser cut for you. So there's nothing sharp on there. Don't worry about that. Pop your creator card die into the center of that beautiful gold piece, and then we're going to use a bit of our repositionable tape again just to hold that still so it doesn't move around while we're running it through the machine. There we go. Close your folder, bring your machine back in, pop it in and run it through. Turn it over, remove your little bit of tape that was just holding everything still. Go. And then you pick up the creator card die from the card, and that's not like ripping off an elastoplast. Take your time and just pull that up gently, and you'll see there immediately, with no encouragement from me at all, what an incredible result we've got from that creator card die. It looks absolutely beautiful. So we've got all of the pieces we need now. Just going to stick down this fabulous piece of red cardstock, which was from Candlelight Christmas, and again it's on the website if you want to go and have a look. And we're going to, on the reverse, use the straight tape pen. And we've talked about this in previous episodes, but if you're wanting to get the best out of your straight tape pen, when you're applying the glue, you run it a straight line, and when you reach the end, don't lift the tape pen vertically, flick to the right or left, and that cuts the glue, which means that you get maximum use out of your tape pen because you're not wasting any glue and you're not wasting the tape pen. That's a really important trick for you. Take your little piece of red card. Because this is 5 inches by 5 inches and the card base was 5 1/4 by 5 1/4, when we put that down, you've got that lovely little relief edge all the way around, and that goes behind the tree to really make that pop and stand out. Now what we want is a little bit of gold. And you can see just a little highlight there, just a little drop shadow of that gold. This is where the dotty tape pen really comes into its own. So what you're going to do now is just get another piece of scrap card to put underneath. This can be a piece of scrap copy paper, newspaper, wrapping paper, baking paper, brown paper, whatever paper you want. And then with Dotty, you're going to run that all over the back of the detailed piece here. And what happens with the Dotty tape pen, I'll just refer you to this, rather than it being a straight glue like this, full lines for adhesion, you've got lots of little dots of glue. And that's brilliant for when you're going in across detail, because now when I run across here, those dots will only stick where there is card. Anything where there's a gap, where there's a space in the creator card, goes on the waste below. And that means you don't get any horrible glue oozing out when you come to stick something on the back of this. It's incredibly strong glue. It's the same strength of glue as the straight tape pen, but having the Dotty application means we can go straight over the top of all of this detail, and now we're just going to get a perfect adhesion. And then round the straight edges where there is no detail, I'll use my straight tape pen. And I'm making sure I've got plenty of glue on here because I want my drop shadow to stay in place and not slip. Okay, so once I've done that, I can move the scrap piece of card out of the way. And we're ready now for the drop shadow. So what we can do is take the drop shadow straight down to the card, but you can't really see how much shadow you've got if you do that. So what I like to do is turn it over, but make sure I don't stick it to the red piece. Then take my little bit of gold lie that flat here underneath, and then what you're going to do, instead of having it lined up perfect, is you're going to come down a fraction to the right a fraction, and by a fraction, a fly's eyelash, a tiny, tiny amount. And you can see where it's going by just hovering over it and making sure it's in the right place. There we go. So I can see now that I've got my little bit of gold peeking out just here to give me the drop shadow. There we are. There's a little bit in that circle there, and I can see it on the baubles. And when I'm happy with it, I can just push it down. And that gives me the perfect amount of drop shadow, a beautiful little gold highlight just behind. And you can see that then is stuck inside perfectly, and Dottie has grabbed it everywhere, so you don't need to worry about it. So that's that, and then we've got our little sentiment. This sentiment I've done today is from the Christmas Dream collection. So I've just stamped the sentiment with a black ink pad and then matte and laid it on a piece of red to match. So just you can cut a square, free-handed, do a wiggly line, whatever you want to do. It's entirely up to you with your sentiment. And then we're just going to need a little bit of the permanent straight tape pen again at either side. Pop your little sentiment in the middle. And then to add just a little bit of something else, because it's Christmas, we're going to add a few of our liquid pearl drops. And this one is the Royal Pearl from the Pearl collection. And to put your pearl drops on, always keep the bottle vertical. And it's a little squeeze, so it comes out, hovering, and then a lift away. Don't worry if you've got a little peak, because they will self-level. So just give it 5 to 10 minutes, and that's going to level off into the perfect rounded pearl. And I'm just going to put 3 little pearls here, because I can. There we go. They will round off, and then you have got a very, very impressive Christmas card. And it looks like you've spent hours. In fact, you've spent minutes. Hope you enjoy doing this one. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful embossed card with loads of sparkly detail. Minimum effort, maximum impact. You're going to love it. Okay, so first things you're going to start with are your card blank. So you're going to take a card blank, and this measures 5 inches by 7 inches in size. And this can be any white card blank that maybe you've purchased ready folded, or one that you folded yourself. We've then got a piece of red linen cardstock. This mat has been cut 1/4 inch smaller all around. So this is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 in size. You've then got the piece that you're going to emboss, which is from the same card collection. And this has been cut 1/4 inch smaller again. So this is now at 4.5 by 6.5 inches in size. We'll talk about the sentiment in a second. And you're going to use your embossing folder, which is our crystal chandelier. Now, this is one of our 3D embossing folders and has a beautiful amount of detail on there. What you're going to make sure you do is have the words Crafter's Companion at the back, so you can see that there. And then your piece of cardstock that you're going to emboss will go on the piece that does not have the writing, facing up. Centre that into your folder, close the folder, and then we're going to run that through our Gemini MIDI machine, which will give you that beautiful emboss. We're going to run this through our Gemini MIDI machine. Because this is a 3D embossing folder, you don't need the additional shim that comes in the box. The 3D folder goes straight through the machine, pop it in the front, wind it through, and it will do all of the hard work for you. If you want to make sure it's super embossed, you can wind it back. Move your machine out the way, and then what you'll be able to see is an absolutely beautiful embossed design on that cardstock. It takes all of the detail really quickly and easily and looks absolutely gorgeous. The texture is fabulous. Move your 3D folder out of the way, and then we're going to do all of the fabulous bits, the decoration. So the first things I'm going to do is use one of our sparkle pens. And if you haven't used these before, what have you been waiting for? They're absolutely incredible, especially for the Christmas period. And I want to show you just quickly how you will prime this to get it to have maximum sparkle for you. So remove the pen you want to use from the box. This is the gold one. And then you take the top off, so screw that off there, like that. You want to remove this little yellow band. When you remove the yellow band, you can then screw this back on top, which pierces the bottom part of the pen that holds all of the sparkly goodness. Screw that in place. Once you've done that, remove the top so you can see the brush and the valve for the ink. Give it another turn, and that just makes sure that it's very secure and very in place. At this point, what you're going to do is shake it to wake it. So the lid goes back on, and then give it a good shake. And I'm just going to shake it at my microphone so you can hear. All of those little crinkles, they're the little ball bearings inside, making sure that all of the glitter, that microfine glitter, is mixed in with the lovely gold sparkly base so that you get maximum shimmer when you're using it. And that little shake it to wake it part is very, very, very important. You're then going to take the lid off and use your pen where it says push here on the side. Now, if I was to develop these pens again, I would change the word push to gently squeeze. So definitely don't push it really hard because you're going to waste all of your lovely ink. You're going to take a gentle squeeze and just push your brush onto a scrap piece of card, and you'll see that ink come through straight away onto those bristles. Capillary action now, so just a backwards and forwards movement makes the sparkle ink move straight away onto the cardstock so that it's ready for you to use. Once it's ready, you can bring in the piece that you'll want to colour in. I need my glasses for this. And then we just choose the little bits of the baubles where we want to do all of the sparkle colouring. Okay, when you've coloured in all of the bits that you need, let that to one side just to dry while we do a little bit of matting and layering on our card. So you're going to need one of these. You're going to need a tape pen. These are incredible for doing all of your sticky things when you're making your cards, and it makes it very quick and easy and means you're not wrestling with a wet glue. So you just apply your tape pen to the back of your card. And then that goes, make sure you've got your card the right way around before you stick it down. That goes on the front. That's your first mat and layer. So that's your first piece of cardstock, which will just draw the eye into the main event, having that lovely dark piece there. Then we're going to do exactly the same for the piece that is drying. Let's just check it is dry. Yeah. And then your tape pen again. And I've got a top tip for you with the tape pen. When you're applying it, like this, and you get to the end, don't lift the tape pen up straight vertical, flick it to the side like that, and that cuts the tape. It means that you don't pull it back in and waste any of the tape in the tape pen. So you pull it along and then quick flick. Pull it along, quick flick. Pull it along, quick flick. And that means you'll get maximum life out of your tape pen. And this is going on top of the red piece that we've just used. And you can see that little red border really does draw your eye into that beautiful cream piece with all of that lovely sparkly coloured detail that we've put on there. Now, it's Christmas, so we want maximum sparkle, don't we? There's no excuse in Christmas not to have maximum sparkle. So you're going to get yourself one of these fine tip glue applicators. If you haven't got a fine tip glue applicator, you can make yourself a pile of glue on something like a ceramic plate, a tea plate, something like that, and use a cocktail stick to pick up the glue and put it in the places you want it if you don't have one of these. That would be a quick and easy way for you to do it. And then we're just going to apply little dabs of glue where I want more sparkle over the top of the bits that I've already coloured in gold. Now I can hear you saying, why are you doing that, Leanne? You've just coloured that in gold. Why would you go over the top of it with glue and put more glitter on it? Well, because then you've got the glitter gold underneath with what I'm going to use as gold glitter on top, and that really improves the sparkle and the density of the colour that you get with the glitter. If you go straight onto the cream cardstock with your wet glue like this, because the glue dries clear, it can look a little bit patchy, and we don't want patchy, we want maximum sparkle. So we're going over the top of the bits that we've already coloured to help us do that. Once you've done that, we're going to get a scrap piece of paper or card. It can be anything you like. It can be a piece of newspaper for that matter, but you want something to catch your glitter when you apply it. And then sprinkle your glitter on. Remove the little top and then tap your glitter off onto your scrap paper. That can go back in your pot to use on another card, so nothing's wasted. The lids can go back on, and you can see what a beautiful amount of sparkle that we've got from that glitter. So the final thing we need to do is just make ourselves a little sentiment. Now you can cut a square if you like, you can draw around a mug, draw around a sellotape circle. If you've got some nesting dies at home, you're going to use your nesting dies and use them with your Gemini MIDI to do that. But if not, you can draw around a shape at home and use your scissors and just whatever you feel comfortable cutting. And then you're going to stamp yourself a little sentiment. And this one has been stamped again from our Christmas Dream collection. May your holidays sparkle with joy and laughter. And we definitely all want our holidays sparkling with joy and laughter. I've got a little bit of foam tape on the back of here, so these are our little foam pads that you can get on the website as well. A few little foam pads on there. If you are using foam pads to stick, always put a little bit of your wet glue on the back, and that just means that that won't dry out in the central heating and fall off and upset you. It'll make sure that the stick is permanent. So we're going to pop that there. And there we go, all done. Really super quick, super easy, maximum sparkle, incredibly elegant. I love a snowy scene for a Christmas card. So in this episode, I'm going to show you how to do this one, which is really quick and really easy. First thing you're going to do is get your card base. So I've got myself a white 5x7 card base. You can buy these ready-made and ready scored, or you can fold your own from a piece of A4 card or US letter size, whatever you prefer. 5x7 half fold card, that's ready to go. Then we just need a piece of green cardstock, which is going to be our backdrop, and that is going to be 1/4 of an inch smaller all the way around. So this one then is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 in size, and we will eventually stick that on there. So that can go to the side. The next thing we're going to do is cut the trees. Now for the trees, you're going to use this brilliant edgeable that we've got, which is from our Great Outdoors collection, and it's called Alpine Charm. Lovely little tree lined edge, which will give you the appearance of a forest. So this is one of our metal dies again, which will cut the shape when pressure is applied. The raised edge does not cut, it's not sharp, but this raised edge, when pressure applied over a piece of cardstock, gives you the beautiful effect that you're looking for. So we're going to take the piece of card, we're going to take our folder for our Gemini MIDI machine, the cutting folder, and we're going to pop the piece of card inside. Then put your trees over the top. Now you've got choices at this point. You can decide, do you want those trees? Do you want those trees? Do you want these trees? It's entirely up to you. Just position it wherever you feel it's going to give you the maximum joy when you look at it. Once you've got it where you would like it, when it's visually appealing for you, take a little bit of repositionable tape, and we're just going to hold it still on either side, and that just means that you'll keep a nice straight line. Just check that I've got that in the perfect position. So what I want is the bottom of the die running parallel with the bottom of my piece of cardstock. Actually, if you want the trees to be taller, you can put it up there. It's entirely up to you, but I'm going to run it parallel at the bottom. And then keep it still. Same on the other side. And it just reduces the margin of error because it means it doesn't all wiggle about when you put it through. So then we can close our folder, bring in your machine. We're using the Gemini MIDI. Take your folder and run it through. Start it off, and then you can move your hand to the top of the machine and just hold it still while you run that through for a cut. Take it out of that side and then just turn it over and check that you've got it cut all the way through. And I can see there that I have, so I don't need to run this through again. This is a little bit more of a simple die to use, so that makes it easier. So I can pop that down there, move my Gemini MIDI out of the way. Now, remove your repositionable tape. Just take your time when you do this. And then peel your die up from the card. Best to just hold it still or use a little pokey tool, something just to lift it up and lift it away. Once you've done that, you can see that you've then got this beautiful landscape ready to use on your card, where all of the trees are cut out beautifully. So we'll keep that to one side because that's going to go there. So once you've got that ready, we're now going to do our snowy hills that you can see there. And this is just a little bit of freestyling and a little bit of cutting. So you're going to need 3 pieces of card and a pencil. I've already done my hills, number 1, 2 and 3, but I just wanted to show you how I do it. So you can see number 1, 2 and 3 here. Let's put them the right way around. And what I'm doing when I'm drawing these on is I'm going in a different direction. So I've gone top left to middle of the right here at the bottom. So then I've gone the opposite now, from the bottom all the way to the top and then across the middle. And that gives you differentiation when you're layering them up. You'll see when I cut them out what I mean by that. It's very easy. Please don't spend too long trying to work it out. Take a pencil lightly, start somewhere, end somewhere. Really quickly, and the quicker you do it, the more effective it will be in terms of providing you that hilly landscape. If you try to put too much effort into it and go really slow, it does never really ends up in quite the same fluid way. So just go really quickly, do your hill and leave it at that. Okay, so once you've done that 3 times, we're going to cut them out. I like a big pair of scissors, I find it easier. So again, these are perfect, have a look on our website. And if you are cutting out a fluid line like this, a big pair of scissors and going right into the jaw of the scissor will make all of the difference, because you can get a fluid line much more easily than you can with a little pair of scissors. So that's the first one, and we'll do the second one. And I'm just following my pencil line. As long as I go underneath the pencil line, it doesn't have to be perfectly on the pencil line. It's a guide, not a rule. Pop those out of the way. And then the same with the last one here. Okay, so I've got my 3 snowy hills, I've got my trees, I've got my card base, and all I really need now are some little snowflakes as an embellishment. So I'm going to use this scrap piece of card that I've got left from doing my trees, and I'm going to take the snowflakes, and this time I'm using the snowflakes from A Christmas Dream. Bring in your piece of card, pop your snowflakes on. Just space them out. Close your folder. Bring your machine in and run them through. Now, because these are very, very detailed, I am going to run these through twice. And just simply belt and braces. There's no reason otherwise. If I pick this up and move it now because there's 4, I don't want them to move. So I'm just going to bring that back as soon as it's gone through, bring it back towards me, and then I know that that will be pretty spot on. Remove your MIDI out of the way. Take your die cut pieces. And you'll see they're inside the little metal dies, like that. Once you've got them there and ready to go, use your pokey tool and just push that through the little release holes at the back, and then gently encourage your snowflake out. It will release really easily. Okay, Okay, so now it just leaves us to assemble. I'm going to use both of our tape pens for this, the straight one to stick all the mats and layers and the dotty one to stick the trees and the snowflakes. So we'll start with the mats and layers. So that's the green piece of cardstock, and that's just applying tape pen to the back. When you're applying tape pen, when you get to the end, always flick to the right or left, whether you're right or left-handed. That cuts the glue. If you get to this point and you pick up vertically, you can stretch the glue out of the tape pen and make it hard to start again. So always doing that little flick at the end just finishes everything off nicely and makes sure that you get longevity out of your tape pen. Make sure your card is opening in the correct direction, and then just layer a green cardstock on there. And then we're going to put our trees in place. So I'm going to use the dotty tape pen for this and a scrap piece of paper or card. This can be newspaper, old wrapping paper, whatever it is you've got to hand. Don't use your good card. And then with dotty, we're going from the bottom up just to make sure that we've got all of the little branches of the trees covered. So we go all over the branches, and because this tape is lots of little dots of glue, not one big strip of glue, it means that it only sticks where you put it, and you don't get lots of streaky glue or horrible little gluey splodges sticking out on your project. It's definitely best for doing detail. Then you're just going to choose, do I want my trees near the top? Do I want them down the bottom? Do I want them in the middle? Where are my trees going? I'm going kind of just over halfway up, and I'm going to pop my trees there. So now that I've got that there, I just need to stick my hills in place. So hill number 1 was here, so that's just going to get the tape pen applied, and this is the straight one. And the great thing about these tape pens is they will go around a curve beautifully. So first hill is going there, and then my second hill will go here, and my third hill will go here. And then I'm going to put my little sentiment at the bottom. And then I'm going to use my snowflakes. So I've got all of these lovely little snowflakes cut out ready, and we can just start to pop them in place. Now then, you can either use a fine tip glue applicator, and if you don't have one of these, just a little bit of the glue on your craft mat or on a saucer or something like that, and a cocktail stick will do the job for you. I find the little fine tip glue applicator the most precise way of doing it. And then you just go and find where you would like to arrange your snowflakes. Stick that in place. And now, well, you could leave it like that if you like. You put a little bit of glitter on if you want to, or we can just add a little bit of something. So I'm just using our gem pack that we've got here. Look at all of them. That's Christmas in a box, isn't it? And you're going to choose a couple of gems and just add them to the centres of your snowflakes. So you're going to use your fine tip glue applicator again, and this could again be just a bit of that white glue picked up with a cocktail stick if you'd like. There we go. All finished. A beautiful snowy scene which really looks like you've spent a long time and could not be easier. If you're new to die cutting, this is a really simple card that looks absolutely fabulous when it's finished. And the best part is you can even use our Gemini Mini to make this one. You really don't need very much at all to do this. The first thing you're going to need is your 5x7 card base. So we've got a white 5x7 card base. You can fold this yourself from A4 or US letter size, or you can buy them ready-made. When I'm making lots of Christmas cards like this and I want them to be quick and easy, I buy them ready-made. So that's my 5x7 card base ready. This is my white mat, so that's another white panel that's going to go on top, and it's just 1/4 of an inch smaller, all the way around. That's what I'll stick my candy canes to. So this piece of white card is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 inches. We've got that ready. Then you just need your red and white card to cut your candy cane. And we need our Gemini MIDI folder. Now I'm going to do this in my Gemini MIDI, voila. But if you don't want to start with a Gemini MIDI and you haven't got a die cutting machine and you really want to try, this will also work in the Gemini mini machine. So we're going to start with our folder, we open that up and we've got our 2 pieces of card ready to cut the candy cane. The candy cane itself comes from our retro Christmas collection and you can use it very simply on its own as we have here, or you can use it with all of the little foliage and bow pieces that come with it and make it look really fancy. Just depends how much time you've got and how quick you want to be with your card make. This is a quick one, so we're just going to use the candy cane. Take the dies out the packet and you'll see you've got all of your pieces here. What you're going to need is the cane, which will be for the red at the bottom. So remove that. That's your candy cane. And then your stripes, your candy cane stripes, which are on this piece. And that's going on to the white cardstock. We don't need anything else from there unless you want to do all of the little foliage pieces. That's up to you. So we'll do that and then we'll close the folder, bring in the machine and we'll run it through. Move your machine out of the way and then pick up the folder. Now, top tip from me here, do not move that. Leave that where it is. Future you will be very, very grateful to me for asking you to do that. We're going to leave that on our folder. We can remove the dies, which I've done, as you can see. So that's moving the candy cane itself and moving the little die there, which does all the little white pieces. The reason I'm asking you to keep that on the folder is it means that when you come to add those pieces to your candy cane now, to get the stripes in the correct place, you can see exactly which one you need to pick up and work with as you work down them. So we're going to use a little bit of our repositionable glue and then we're just going to use a pokey tool or like the gem pick up put down tool, something where you can pick it up easily and then move it. So you see, keeping that still, picking this piece of card up. It's a little bit like the game of operation, it's not that difficult. I've been able to move that and I can see there that this fits there perfectly on my candy cane because I'm starting at the top and working my way down to the bottom. On the back, little dabs. And if you haven't got this fine tip glue applicator, a pool of this glue on your mat and a cocktail stick will do the same job. And then you can just move this into place. And when you put it down, you can then use your little tool that you're using and just pop that there. And then we do exactly the same with the next piece. And then that goes in the next position, which is there. There we are, and that finishes. You can move your cutting folder now. That finishes off your candy cane really quickly and easily. And if you follow that top tip for not moving the die cut pieces so they're all in order, you'll be able to make them really quickly. You're going to make 6 of them, which is what I've got here. And then with those 6, we're just going to arrange them onto our card front. So I'm going to put my little matten layer on to start with. Remember, when you're applying your straight permanent glue. When you get to the end, it's a little flick to the right or left, depending which hand you're using, and that elongates the use of your pen. Pop your little matten there in place, which just gives you a nice little shadow effect. And then we're just going to stick all of these onto the card. I like to use a wet glue to do this because we might need to wiggle the position of one of two of them to get them all in the perfect place. Make sure nobody's left out. So by using a wet glue, you get that ability to move things for a minute or so. It means you're not committed straight away. And I can see that I need two there. So this one's going to come up and over a little bit. And then this one will. And that will leave room for this one. There we go. And then the same underneath. So we've got all 6 of those candy canes on there now, and then we've got a little sentiment, and this sentiment I used from our festive camper, and you've got a lovely little set of stamps in there with some fantastic Christmas sentiments on, and so I used Let's Get Festive. You can put this on with some foam pads if you want to, or you can just stick it flat. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to stick it flat this time. Put a little bit of my wet glue on there. Let's Get Festive in the centre, and then I'm just going to add some little bits of sparkly flourish, because you can't have Christmas without a bit of sparkly flourish, can you? So I've got the gem box back, and this is incredible. You have got 9 colours of gems in here. You've got 1,000 3mm gems and 255mm gems. You'll never need another gem for an awful long time if you're using these, and really lovely colours. So just choose the colour you would like to go with. I'm going to go with these little, I love these little Aurora Borealis ones. I think they're my favourite. So I'm going to pick a gem, pop a little bit of glue, pop the gem on top. You can use your repositionable tool if you want. And you can keep going if you want, or you can decide less is more and stop there. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to leave it there. I think I've got enough, but who knows? 5 minutes time I might come back and add some more to your card. You add all of the gems that you would like to add. And I think you'll agree that is a really impressive little die cut card, which doesn't take much time at all, but looks fantastic. I absolutely love a little bit of mixed media. So in this episode, I'm going to show you how to make this fantastic tree using our liquid watercolours. If you don't have liquid watercolours, you can use any watercolour paint that you've got at home. And then we're going to add some gems for that extra little festive sparkly touch. So what you need to start with is a little half-fold card, and I've got that ready. This is a 6x4, so it's just a small one. You can do this on any side. The size of card doesn't matter, any size you like. I'm just going with small. So I've got a 6x4 card, and then I've got a piece of watercolour card cut 1/4 inch smaller. You can see that there. So if this is 6 by 4, 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 in size for your little bit of watercolour card. Then what you're going to do is take some of our repositionable or masking tape. You want to stop the watercolour going where you don't want it and keep it where you do want it. And we're just going to approximate a triangle in the centre of the card. So there's the first piece. Put my glasses on. Here's the second piece. And you want it to overlap. Don't leave any gaps where the watercolour could run out. So you want to be able to make sure that you can keep the watercolour just where you want it, and you want the tape to overlap. And then we want the same down here. So you want a nice, good sized piece, and then make sure it overlaps the previous two pieces to create the triangle for your tree. Once you've done that, we get painting straight away. So you're going to use a paintbrush, which is, for this particular effect, a flat paintbrush. You can use a really big one if you're confident, but if you're just starting out for the first time, go with a medium-sized flat brush like this. And if it's brand new like mine, straight out of the box, just give the bristles a little bit of a massage, and then it's ready to receive the watercolour paint. Okay, some brushes ready. You might also need a little bit of water, so have some water just in case, and never approach a watercolour project unless you've got kitchen towel ready to mop up any mishap that might happen. You're going to be great, there isn't going to be any mishaps, but always have it at hand just in case you need it. Our liquid watercolours are absolutely fantastic. They come in a box of 6 colours, and the dye in here is so deep and so rich that you need the tiniest amount. So what I'm going to be using is my media mat here, which is incredible because I've got all of these little wells. If you don't have this, just get yourself some little plastic cups or little egg cups, something like that, to keep your colours separate, and pop a little bit, or a ramekin, something that you've got at home that you can use, and just pop your little bits of colour into separate receptacles. So I'm using 4 of the colours in that set, and the 4 colours I'm using are Catkin Green, Seaweed Aqua, Night Blue and Clematis Violet. And I'm going to start with the colour that I'm using at the bottom of the tree, which is Clematis Violet, Night Blue, Seaweed Aqua, Catkin Green. So we're going to put a little bit of that into the well. I use my mat, you use whatever you've got, whatever you've decided to use at home. The great thing about these liquid watercolours is they come with a pipette in the lid, so that you're not having to try and pour it out or get as much as you need. You can be really in control with the amount of colour that you're using, and you need only the smallest amount. The thing is as well, start off small, because if you do need some more, you can add a little bit more in. But if you put too much in, when it comes to clean up, you're going to waste it, and you don't want to do that. So then we're going with the nice. And then Seaweed Aqua. And you'll see here, these all in fact look black, don't they? The colours on them. It's difficult to actually see the colour, and that's because the dye is so rich and deep that you won't actually see the colour until we start to apply it to the card. But it looks incredible. And then the final colour is Catkin Green. We've got that there. Okay, I think that'll be more than enough, but we can always add a little bit more if we need. Now, start with a damp brush, because if you don't have a damp brush, then the colour won't move freely. So it's not soaking, it shouldn't be dripping. It goes into the water and gets a nice saturate, and then that goes straight to your paper towel to take off the excess water. What we're also going to do is prime our piece of watercolour card ready to receive the liquid watercolour, and that means we're going to moisten it. So we're just going to paint some water over the triangle there, and that primes it. which simply means it's ready now to receive colour. So again, just in with your brush, damp off the excess on your towel. So you've got a damp brush, take a little bit of the colour, look how intense that is, and then just drag that across the card. Once you've got that colour on and you're happy with the intensity of it, then you can clean your brush. So just into your water, good swizz around, and then dab onto the towel, just to get off any of that excess dye that's on there. It will dye the bristles on your brush, but if I show you here on this paper towel now, that's beautifully clean and none of that purple is coming off. So it will dye them, can't do anything about that, please don't worry. So we're going with a damp brush again and into the next colour, which was our night blue, I think. I picked up a little bit of the night blue, and then I go over where the clematis violet was, and then up a little bit, clean my brush, dab off the excess, and then just blend those two together by going over the join line between the two, and that gets me that lovely smooth join between the two. Clean your brush again, dab off, make sure it's nice and clean, and we repeat. So dab a damp brush, not a wet brush, pick up a tiny bit of the colour that you're going to use, and this one now is the Seaweed Aqua. Exactly the same again, you go over the initial line of blue and then bring some of the aqua colour up itself, clean your brush, dab it off, go over the join. Clean your brush, pick up the next colour, which is going to be our catkin green. Exactly the same again, over the join, all the way up. Clean your brush, dab it off, over the join. And the absolute joy of this is, every time you do this, it will be different. Every single tree you do will never look the same. And that really does make it feel like a one-off piece of artwork that you are creating for your recipient. So we're going to need to let this dry. Now you can either leave it to dry naturally, and if you're doing 10, 15, 20 of these, you've seen how quick it is, do it, put it to one side, let it dry. Or if you're doing one at a time and you want to, and you've got a gadget like mine, then you can force dry it. So you're going to use your heat tool and just take most of the moisture out. And for this, actually, if you haven't got a heat tool and you want to use your hairdryer, it's not going to hurt. A heat tool, that wouldn't work if you're doing heat embossing and things like that, but just to take the moisture out of it, you don't have to have that fancy tool if you don't want to invest in it. And then what we do now is take off our masking tape. We start at this end, because it crossed over at the end, you know, I said make sure it crosses over, it should allow us to bring this off in one piece really cleanly. Just take your time, don't rip it off like a band-aid, and just keep pulling. And by doing that, you don't get any of the paint where you don't want it. What you're left with is a beautifully clean triangle for your Christmas tree. And then we go with whatever colour we want to paint the trunk, and I'm going to go with the catkin green. There we go. And then we're going to dry it again. You can, again, when you're doing these yourself, you can just leave this to dry naturally and come back to it later. Because I need to show you the next bit, I'm going to force it dry. Okay, and once it's dry, just flatten your cardstock, because when it's had water on it, it will want to curl. That's natural, so just give it a little bit of encouragement. Then you're going to take a felt tipped fine line marker. You can use a biro, it's just a pen. It's entirely up to you. And all we're going to do is trace a line for where our sparkles are going to be on our tree. And again, this is easiest to do without thinking about it too much. So just start in one place, do a line, and then next line, down, and everyone will be different, so don't worry about it. Next line down, and then do I want another line to there? And that one is very different to this one, but it doesn't matter because every single one will be a unique piece of artwork for the person that you're sending it to, which is the most important thing. So I've got my gems out of my gem. Can I advise everybody to get these, the Christmas cards? I'm using them all the time. So we've got the gem box again, and I've just put some little gems out of the gem box onto the plate, so it's easy for me to pick them up. That's a good thing if you're working at speed for you to do as well. And then you want your fine tip glue, and I've got one of these little applicators. If you don't have this, a little bit of glue out onto a mat somewhere and use a cocktail stick will help you. And then all you're going to do is dots of glue onto the line you've just created. And once you've done that, we start with our gems. You'll see what I'm doing is alternating between two sizes, a larger one and a smaller one. There we go. And once you've done that, we can then put a little gold star on the top. So I'm going to use our metallic paint markers because they're fabulous. And I'm going to use I'm going to use the fine tip one, which is the 7mm. So once you've done your little star on the top with your gold marker, what you can then do is pop yourself a little sentiment on the bottom, which I've done using our Christmas Dream collection. And then you have got the most beautiful hand-coloured, hand-drawn, watercolour, personal Christmas card for a friend or a loved one. Now, I want to show you a quick bonus project, which is something anyone can do. It's using our liquid watercolours, but you can use any watercolour you've got at home and a glass or a cup. Let me show you how. Now, what you're going to need is a saucer or a side plate or something to keep your watercolours where they need to be. And then we're going to use our 6 liquid watercolour set again. So there's my 4 colours we used when we did the tree. But this time I'm using the remaining 2 colours, which is poppy red and persimmon orange. So I've got those 2 ready. And on the saucer, you're just going to decant a little bit of this tiny amount, a whisper is what you need to be able to do your cards. Mind, if you're doing 10, you can have a little bit more on there. So we're just going to pop some of this liquid watercolour down. I've probably gone far too much there. You won't need as much if you're making 1 card. I'll probably get 10 cards out of this. And then I'm going to do the other colour, which is the persimmon orange, with the pipette. Marvellous that these liquid watercolours have the pipette in here for you because it just makes it so much easier. And notice I'm doing it at the opposite side where they're not truly coming together. You can see that there. Okay, and it's in the approximation of a circle. It doesn't need to be, as long as it's on the saucer. So move your saucer to one side and bring in your piece of watercolour card that you're going to be making your baubles on. And then you want a glass or a cup. Maybe you've just finished a Christmas cocktail or you're waiting for a little glass of Prosecco and you want to do a couple of Christmas cards in the meantime. It's a very fancy glass. Yours doesn't have to be this fancy. And what you're going to do is dip it into the watercolour and make sure you get a good amount all around the rim of the glass. When you've got that ready, you're going straight up from the saucer onto your watercolour card. So straight up, over and onto your watercolour card. Give it a push and a wiggle and you see it leaves that circle for you. Now this one for me, I'm just going to do 1 bauble on this card. We had 2 baubles, didn't we, on the one that I showed you, but I want to show you how you can change the composition depending on the size of the glass or the egg cup or the cup or whatever it is that you're using. Depending on that, depends the size of the bauble. So just move your saucer out of the way because we might come back to that. Then take your piece of watercolour card, and I'm going to have this bauble at the bottom left hand side. So once you've got that, now all you need is some clean water and a paintbrush. And if you're me, your glasses. Now we're going to take a brush that is wet but not soaking, and then we take it to the edge of that ink. You can see that there, and by bringing the water up to the ink that we've applied, it then floods it out into the centre of the bauble. Please do not worry about this being perfect. We're not aiming for perfect, we're aiming for very loose, very artistic watercolour painting. If you find it difficult to go around the circle, pick your piece of card up and move it. And again with your water. And you see what I'm doing is I'm starting down here and then I'm touching the tip of the brush to the tip of the line and letting that watercolour flood in to the centre. Keep cleaning your brush. Let it flood in. Don't worry about it being perfect. Okay. And that's all joined up. Now what we're going to do is with our saucer, because that's all really nice and wet now, which has some of the watercolour ink left on it, is we're going to pick up a little bit and just bring it in. And that creates lovely little swirls of colour. And they will start to mix together, and let it do its own thing, because you want it to be light in areas and dark in areas. And if I pick up the orange from here and do the same, we can just touch it in. Definitely leave some little white spaces because that's a preserved highlight. That is just making it feel like a 3D object. If you want to, with the tip of the brush, just neaten some edges, you can, but you don't need to because we're going to do something else to it. And then leave it alone, that's it. Do not be tempted to keep titivating, moving the colour, pushing it around, because at that point it then all becomes one colour because it all mixes together with the water. So you want to leave it when you get to that point and dry it. So you can leave it to dry on its own, leave it for 10 or 15 minutes, it's going to be fine, or use your heat tool if you've got one. And if you haven't, you could, at a push, use a hairdryer for this. And as you dry and the water continues to move and the colour continues to move, you get all of that lovely interference where the colours will mix together, they'll pool in places, they'll move in places, and you get all of that really lovely, authentic feel to the watercolour that you've just done. And this is brilliant because what you're doing now is creating an original piece of artwork yourself that you're painting to send as a Christmas card to your friends, loved ones. And actually, you know, I've got quite a few of these, and I use these as Christmas decorations and frames. I have them popped up all over the place. And I've even cut them out and used them as gift tags as well. So if you didn't want to do it as a Christmas card and you wanted to cut this out, no reason why it can't be a Christmas tag as well, and you could put a little hole in and a bow on it. It's going to look absolutely incredible. So once that's dry, which it is now, this is when we start to make it look more like a bauble. And we need our fine liner pen for that, and we also need one of our gold paint markers. There's my gold paint markers, I'll come to them in a second, and this is my fine liner. So what we're going to start to do is with the fine liner, and please do not worry, this does not have to be perfect or even or tidy. In fact, I would say the messier the better for authenticity, is go around your bauble. First with the black and then with your fine gold tip, and always test this on a spare, here it is here, spare piece of card, a couple of pumps, just make sure it's working and then use it on your bauble. And we'll go around with a few gold ones now as well. And remember, messier the better. Then what we're going to do is take our fine liner again, and we're going to make the string that it hangs with. Before we do the string, we need something for it to be hung with. So we just draw the little top on, do some little lines like that. And then the best thing to do is, rather than trying to go away up the page, I find it easier to turn the bauble upside down, and then don't try to do a straight line. Purposely try not to do a straight line and it'll look so much better. So we're going to hang this bauble by doing a little wiggle like that all the way up the top, which looks so much better. And then you can do the little bit that ties it on, and that is it. And if you wanted to do another little line up there, you could, just for a little bit of something extra. And then finally, the messy bit that everybody loves is to do some splats. So all I do for this is, you can either do it on your saucer again or onto a surface. It's entirely up to you. It's just something that you don't mind ruining. This can't be your best plate out of the cupboard or Granny's best plate because it isn't going to be very usable again. So this has to be an old one. It could be an old tile maybe as well, and old tile's a good thing to use. We're going to pump out some of that gold ink, which you can see there. Now I've got an excess amount on this nib while I was doing that, so I don't ruin my pen. I take it straight over, and you're just going to tap that gold off to get those little bits on your card. And then when you've got all of that off there, you can, with your paintbrush, then take a little bit more and do the same thing. You notice what I'm doing is tapping off my finger onto my card. Just be careful that you've got whatever surface you're working on, not your dining table, your best French polished one. Make sure it's really covered over. Pop a load of those little splats on, then you can even pick up a little bit of the colour as well. You can see I picked up a tiny bit of that orange, which just ties it all together with the gold. There you go. Move that out of the way. Clean your brush. And there you have it. A beautiful bauble to be mounted onto a Christmas card, and depending on the size of the glass or the egg cup or whatever it is that you use, you can fit 2 on, you can do it with 1, you can write Merry Christmas on there, you can write whatever little message you want or use a stamp. It's entirely up to you. But what I wanted to do was show you that's how easy it is to make beautiful watercolour painted baubles for Christmas.